Okay.
All right, Darren, what do you say?
We're here with Rick Webb, folks, on a Cruisin the Burg 2.0, and we are heading to the Pittsburgh stomping grounds of the Watco family, patriarch at this point, Rick Webb. So we've got some questions. We're going to have a fun conversation. Appreciate everybody, and appreciate Rick taking time out of his super busy schedule to spend some time with us. So,
buddy, it's great to be with you.
Here we are, two blue shirts. We got to get the backstory on the car because this is really about cruising. So,
well, this is a great cruising car. This is a 2009 Mercury Marquee. They're comfortable as all get out. And in case anybody didn't know, I'm built for comfort, not for speed. The real story behind this car is my dad, who is the man responsible for all of Watco's success. And of course, my mom with him. He passed away in 2009, March 2009, and in typical Rick Webb fashion, he worked until he died. He was feeling bad, but he thought he was going to live a lot longer than he did, and he bought a brand new car in 2008 and died in March 2009, and I told everybody, nobody's going to drive that car. I'm going to drive it, and it's going to outlast me. And I got Kirk Darrow of Darrow's Automotive that has made me a promise that this car will be outside the funeral home and outside the church in running condition when I'm dead. Now, he may think it's that death is coming sooner than I'd like to think, but that's the promise he made.
You're from here, and entrepreneurial spirit is alive and well in Pittsburgh, and Watco is just an unbelievable example of finding something you're good at and treating people good and doing it and creating a life for your family and people around you. And who knows what it can grow into, but it's worked, and we're just thankful it's in Pittsburgh. So, a little background maybe about you as a kid. That's always fun.
As I mentioned to you earlier, I've lived my whole life on 3rd Street, but McCarthy's was my first business venture.
So you owned McCarthy?
I was with the team that started it.
Really?
Yeah, Jamie McCarthy, Dennis Cavanaugh, John Jeter, and myself. And the interesting story there is we started that in December of 1982, and Watco was getting ready to get started, and we wound up starting Watco in July of '83.
Wow.
And my dad, when I told my dad I had this brilliant idea to start a bar in Pittsburgh, he looked at me as only he could look at me and said, and I can't say what he really said because this is a PG.
We're going to keep it under
PG, right? He said, "You better not plan on using any of my blankety blank money." And I tell you what, Darren, there is no better way to get into business and to learn business than to not have a safety net.
Yeah, that's a great point.
And so as a kid, I went to George Nettle School, went to Pittsburgh High School, had phenomenal teachers. I'm still friends with a lot of people I went to school with. A lot of them are still right around here in Pittsburgh. Some of them have moved around to local areas, but I was blessed to have a fantastic upbringing, and Pittsburgh is amazing.
So how big's your family? I mean, your dad started Watco. How'd that all happen?
Well, that's a great story. Watco was started by my dad and one other gentleman named Carl Timms. And the Timms family is a big family still here in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, the sisters?
Yeah.
Oh,
Babs
absolutely.
Timms.
They're unbelievable.
It's the sister's brother. His name was Carl, and he's passed away.
They've got like the 48,000 Christmas trees in their house.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
We've been through there before.
Yeah.
They're so sweet.
So Watco's original name, or the acronym, Watco stands for Webb and Timms Company.
Oh.
A lot of people thought it stood for Wild Ass Train Company. It's really Webb and Timms Company. And Carl and my dad were good friends. They worked together on the KCS for quite some time. Watco got started July 1. Here we are, June 25th, I think, 26th. And we're almost 38 years to the day from when Watco started, and we started in DeRidder, Louisiana, being the contract industrial switcher for Boise Cascade. My dad was so excited to get a contract and to get us in business that we were just thrilled to have what was called an evergreen contract.
Right.
Now, evergreen sounds really good, right? But in the fine print, what was clearly delineated was on 30 days notice they could kick our you-know-what's out. I'm very proud to say, because of tremendous effort and work by all the Watco team that have been in DeRidder since, for almost 38 years, we still operate under that same contract today. When Watco started, what was really amazing is, think about this. My dad was 43, 44, 45 years old, had a good job, had done a tremendous job providing for the family. We never wanted for anything when we were growing up. He came home one day and told my mom, hey, I'm going to start my own company. And if anybody knows my mother, Kaylin Webb, you probably know how that conversation went. And my mother reminds us today that when my dad took that leap of faith and started Watco, her name on the contract at the bank for the first loan was the only signature worth a damn, because she was the only person that had a job. And at that time, she was the administrative assistant to the president at Pittsburgh State. So,
do you remember our first meeting? You remember the first time we met? I hopefully you don't, because you've got a million things going. This is classic. This is my Rick Webb story. So I'm at there's a meet and greet the new city manager over in the basement. Okay. You guys hosted.
Yeah.
And you walked right up to me and hey, this somebody introduced it. Hey, this is Rick Webb with Watco. That's where you are. And Watco, I knew what it was, but I didn't know how big and important it was and was going to be over the next 10 years. And you were very friendly. You put your hand out and you shook my hand and you kind of held on to it for a second. And I looked at you and I was like, literally meeting everybody in town and yada yada. And you said, hey, the university's going to come to you in a little bit and they're going to ask you for something. And I said, okay. And you said, you need to listen to them. Okay? You just need to listen to them. And of course, you were referring to the Plaster Center ask.
Right.
A lot of
so what you remember is from the beginning, I was kind of pushy.
Well, you were the host.
I drove back by here because I wanted to show you the KCS. Right off here to the south of the overpass on 23rd Street. That was the old KCS shops. So every locomotive, every rail car that the KCS utilized from the beginning was built and or maintained here. And my grandfather ran that shop. His name was Bus Johnson. And at one point in time, there was 1,000 people that worked there. And that shop is where my dad started on the railroad. And the reason why my dad left the railroad is the railroads went through a really tough period of time in the late 70s, well, really through the whole 70s. And there was a lot of bankruptcies, which caused the deregulation. Basically, the government said, we gotta help these guys somehow because they're not making it. And so my grandfather told my father, leave the railroad, go find another way to make a living because you don't have the seniority necessary to hold your position and you're not going to have a job. So my grandfather's advice taught my dad to go take a risk. My dad found a job, and that job was with Halliburton and a couple other companies. But while he was out servicing the railroad industry, from a supplier standpoint, he found the niche that Watco has filled since 1983, and that's how we got started, more or less.
Was there one thing that was the big project or the big purchase or something that really kicked it off to where you're like, hey, this thing's got some momentum. It's not just us doing a little bit here and a little bit there, but we got some.
I'm sure there was, Daron. I think the thing that we realized after we got started in 83 was there was a big demand for that type of service. We just realized from the first service that we provided, which was the switching operation in DeRidder, and then the second operation was our car shop in Coffeyville that we can talk about here in a minute. And then the third operation was the railroad that we bought that went from Coffeyville to Pittsburgh on to Nevada. And Daron, every time we would start something, the customers would just come to us and say, here's what we need you to do. And it was like nobody before them was ever listening to them. You know, so it made it pretty easy. You remember, I'm an old bartender that just basically tried to figure out how to get somebody to buy another 60-cent glass of Old Milwaukee, you know? And how about a cup of peanuts to go with it? I had to
make it easy for them.
That's right. And what I didn't realize is the transportation industry, in particular, the railroad industry, needed such improvement to customer service. And so I got to give credit to my dad, and I got to give credit to, you know, the whole Watco team from the very beginning. The Herman brothers, the Mayberries, the McEwens, Mark Blazer, our first, team member. Those guys really took customer service and made it a foundation principle for us. And because of that, wherever we've gone, and right now we're in about 42 states, we're in Canada, we're in Mexico, we're in Australia, we take that customer service focus with us, and guess what happens? Customers love it, they want more. Without these customers, we wouldn't be in business. Sanderson Pipe, which I call Vinoplex.
Me too.
I'm old school, and Pitt Plastics and our car shop were the only 3 customers of our first railroad when we bought it.
Wow.
When we bought our first railroad, which is this track right here, that used to go all the way to Nevada and all the way to Coffeyville, 104 miles of track, had 700 loaded movements on it a year. You need about 700 a mile to make it, right? Today, we've got about 3,400 to 3,500 a mile.
Okay, so
we're making it now, and we got on that SKO with Jerry Wan and that team we got over there on the SKO. It's an unbelievable team that's doing great things.
So this is Schooler Grain?
This is Schooler Grain, but what's amazing about this was started by Rick Elnicky.
Okay.
This was Camo Grain, and he wanted to basically take advantage of rail freight as opposed to truck freight, and he wanted to start an elevator. And the cool thing about this is he started it, he was having trouble funding it, and so he came to us, and our family co-signed his first note in order for him to be a customer of ours. And now look at what these guys do. So this elevator came from virtually nothing to we handle probably 2,000 to 3,000 carloads a year right out of here. And they never would have been here. And you can talk to Rick Elnicky about this. These guys never would have been here without us believing in them and them believing in us. And now they've sold out to Schooler, and they're a great customer of ours.
Coffeyville has some importance to your roots. I mean, that's kind of where you got started, how you got started, what happened out there.
Well, again, my dad was really good at spotting opportunities. And so one of the opportunities he saw early on was the advent of Powder River Basin coal. Coal in this part of the world was going down because of the Clean Air Act, and Wyoming coal was needing to come into this part of the world. The utilities wanted to move it by rail, right? But they had no idea how to move coal by rail. They had no idea how to get rail cars, and they had no idea how to maintain the rail cars. So my dad saw a great opportunity to become kind of a white knight for the industry, right? To help the utilities and make some of this transportation more economical and happen. So he got a utility by the name of System Fuels, which is now Arkansas Power and Light. He got that customer to commit to a long-term contract with us if we could find a shop where they could do repairs, where we could do repairs. And so we had to look on the route between Wyoming and Arkansas, right? And basically say, all right, where's a good spot for a railroad shop? And we narrowed it down to about 3 locations. And, it was Pittsburgh, it was Coffeyville, and then it was a place in Nebraska. And of course, being from Pittsburgh, we wanted it to be here.
Oh, yeah.
And so we went to the city of Pittsburgh way back then and said, hey, is there any way you can help us do some stuff to locate here? And we were just a little bit ahead of the time, ahead of our time there. We didn't get the response we wanted, so we scratched Pittsburgh off the list, and we went to Coffeyville, and it was really a better location, for the shop. Yeah, I mean, it was perfect. It was right near a yard. The train was going to stop there anyhow. Long story short, we started our Coffeyville car shop in in February of '85, and it's still one of our best performing profit centers in our mechanical shop repertoire.
And just overall, your thoughts of what Pittsburgh is doing, where's it going, how are we doing? I mean, I love the economy is very balanced.
What's great about Pittsburgh is its people, and the workforce is tremendous. You just talked about the entrepreneurship earlier a little bit. I don't know what it is, but you got people in this part of the world that just want to get things done, And take Jake's, for example. They took over that building when there was nothing there, and they're another tremendous success story. They built that business from nothing, and now they're known across the country. And then you got...
We wondered how they were going to fill that building, and now it's like...
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot like CDL over there in that McNally's building. I mean, they moved in, and we're like, well, at least somebody's in it. And now it's like, they don't have enough room.
Yeah, that's the CDL guys. That's another great story. Larry and I go way, way back. Larry bailed our tail out many, many years ago. When we bought our first couple of railroads, we had no idea how to fix these signals right here.
Oh, these arms over top?
Yeah, these crossing signals. And we got a lot of them. And you probably have figured out that those crossing signals are pretty important.
Oh, yeah.
You don't want them to fail.
We're up here at 20th and Rouse, and if you don't know what we're talking about, just right next to the fire station.
Yeah, and
so that's
we were having failures all the time and didn't know where to go. So, my God, it had to be probably 1987, maybe 1988. I called Larry up and basically said, hey, I know we've grown up forever together. Can you not remember all the things, or I shouldn't say that, can you not remember all the bad things I've done in my life? Can you come bail me out? And I have no idea why he did, but I'm glad he did. He came and bailed us out, and he's been our signal contractor since 1988. And as we've grown, he's grown.
Yeah, I mean, every time I talk to that guy, he is like, from little thing, we found an old sign, how do we get this refurbished, sponsoring something. He's just like, I'm there. How can I help you? How can I help you? So where'd you grow up? What part of Pittsburgh was your house?
1314 South Stillwell. My mom still lives there today. Right over there by the weed. So
were you like the Nettles when it first opened?
Yeah, I think I was. I don't remember exactly when it opened, but I was one of the first classes there, I believe.
Well, I know that's where my kids went. And we always talk about trying to grow Pittsburgh big enough that we may need another grade school, but we'll leave that up to the school district to figure out.
Hey, what a great problem to have.
But I'm like, isn't that awesome?
No doubt.
To think that you can literally just continue to grow and educate and give everybody what they need.
And you know what, though? We've got great administrators today, and Rich Profit, Brad Hansen, and we've got really good school teachers. That's one of the things when people come to town, and we bring a lot of folks to town trying to get them interested into moving to Pittsburgh. They're very pleased with the state of our school system today. At one point in time, here's an interesting fact, there was 5 railroads that came into Pittsburgh. Now there's 2. Yeah. But this was up here where the farmers market is today. This was the Missouri Pacific's rail yard. So we would come into town along the Watco Team Trail today.
Okay, yeah.
And that was the right of way that we owned to come into town. And then we would deliver cars to the Kansas City Southern. And a lot of times we wouldn't be able to get right in because they're a busier railroad than we are. So we have to wait until there's an opening. But we would stage our train right here on this piece of property where the Knights of Columbus is today, and where the farmers market is today, and where St. Mary's practice facility is today.
I think there may be a street named after a guy that you may be familiar with, Larry Garman. Little story there.
I tell you, Coach Garman is an amazing man. if I'm lucky enough to live as long as he's lived, I'll be thankful. And if I feel like he feels and has the passion for what he does, when I'm 20 years close to his age, I'll be excited about it. That man is one of the best people on the face of this earth, and he's helped me tremendously in my life. Larry Garman Boulevard. This is hallowed ground right here.
This is it, man. And it jumps. I mean, with everything, all this paving and the market and the field and the high school, they're talking about, even continuing the improvements and maybe get over here on this west side eventually.
Wouldn't that be great?
I think it'd be cool. I mean, those towers are special.
And this wonderful football field right here has seen some great action in its day. We had a pretty good team.
Heck yeah. And it's just pretty
still got a good team. And then, the Colgan teams speak for themselves. I mean, they
dominate, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, it's been amazing to be a small part of their success and watch all the tremendous athletes and the tremendous people that go through the St. Mary's school system. Speaking of which, we're glad that you helped us put these trails in. You
guys had a big part. I don't know if people know this, but the very first big trail leg that I was trying to get, I think I approached you with it well before we secured any grant money and said, hey, can I count on you? And you were like, look, come see me when you figure out what the heck you want. And it was a solid 6 figures, and you guys came through and we got it. And I think people started to believe and understand.
The people here are fantastic. The city leadership is great. You guys have worked with us on how many different projects, who knows?
Oh man, anything we can.
And people here, like you say, they just want the right thing. And when it's all said and done, that's what you want, that's what I want. Well, we've talked about how much the university means to the city, but it's more than just the institution, it's the people that come from it. We did a study a few years back about the number of Pitt State graduates that we have inside our company. And I'm not going to be accurate because we haven't refreshed it in a while, but it was staggering. It was like 40 or 50%, of the people in Pittsburgh that have had a tie directly to Pitt State by either getting a degree or going to Pitt State or working at Pitt State or something like that. But there's so much this town has done together with the university. I mean, look at the rec center. This rec center is before you.
Oh yeah, right? Absolutely.
And think about what came together for the rec center, because you had the state, you had the city and the university, and you had the federal government all come together to build that. I want to go back through this way though, so you can, hey, look at that, here comes the train. So you can, you want to go down there and look at it?
I'll do whatever you want to do, man. I'm on your dime.
No.
I'm learning.
My wife just cringes.
Learning more by the second.
My wife cringes when she sees one because I like to roll down the windows and listen to it. But it's the sound of money. But I wanted to come this way and look at these. Look at the softball and the baseball facilities.
Oh yeah.
Here. Again, Pitt State. What's so good about Pitt State and the community and the city is we're not afraid. Matter of fact, we are very willing to come together and do things that is going to enhance the university and get more students in this town. We want more students in this town.
Now, Dan, he's played pro baseball. But he's from Girard. Is that how you ended up getting him to come with Watco? Was he just around, or did you know him some other way?
Well, I got to know Dan. It's a great story. I got to know Dan because, number one, I do like to pay attention to sports, and I was very, very proud we all were very proud of how far Dan went and how well he did, and more importantly, the really good man he became. And so we always were close. We're not close, but we knew each other. And then what got us to know each other better is while he was still playing baseball, he and his brother Dustin, who was also a professional baseball player, in the off season needed a place to play catch. And when you're a professional baseball player, you don't just play catch across the room. You need a long distance. And so that warehouse we have behind our office was a great place for them to play long toss.
Nice.
And they would come in the off season and work out and play long toss, and we got to know each other. And we both like to hunt. And long story short, he paid a little bit of attention to us, and we paid a lot of attention to him. And all of a sudden, before we know it, there was something we could do together. And Dan wanted to join our team, and we've been amazed and appreciative of his leadership and that of everybody else we got: Rick Baden, Craig Ritchie, Rachel Peterson.
Yeah, you've got the all-star lineup.
Well, they got to overcome my shortcomings.
The first thing we talked about, first conversation we had was a plaster center, and it was a big ask, but you obviously knew about it before I knew about it. What did you see? What did you sense?
Give credit where credit's due. Steve Scott, Kendall Garman, Tim Beck back then, they had a tremendous vision to take the program that was already at a high level, to the next level. And the idea they came up with was, of course, a practice facility, but with your involvement and some of the other vision that was there, people started saying, well, let's don't just limit it to the university. Let's make it an event center.
Yeah.
And so think about what just happened here about a month ago. Right?
Oh.
The farm show was here.
For the first time ever.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be here last year, but the farm show was up here.
That's what when you ask about what did I hope to see, I hope to see things like that.
And Russ, Coach Jewett, just retired, but man, the run that guy put together.
I went to college with Coach Jewett, and he was an amazing athlete, and he turned into an amazing coach and an amazing administrator. So here's to a great retirement to a guy that's given a lot back to this community and this university.
So there's a Cruisin house. When I first moved to town, we lived right across the street.
Yep.
But that was a pretty significant project. I remember when that was going in, and then Bicknell Center is just...
Talk about two people or two families that have given a lot to this university. No one can match Gene and what he's done over the years, and I don't think anybody should ever try. He's one of a kind, and he's a guy that has helped our family in many, many ways. So many ways I can't even tell you all of them. And then the Crosslands, their work speaks for itself. This house is amazing, and how they changed the jungle, the football stadium. That's one of my favorite places in the fall, without a doubt. I just got to say this, Daron. We've tried to give back, to the town and the community, and we're not the only ones. There's a lot of great families that do that, and a lot of great people that do that. But this town has been amazing to us. Just amazing. It's given us a foundation on which to build this business. When you think about it, we've got about 4,800 team members that are working all around the world.
I had no idea you were that big.
And we've got, with what we've got planned over the next 3 to 6 months, we'll be well over 5,000 and probably approaching 5,200 team members. So I can only say thanks to the town. So here's the beginning of Immigrant Park.
Yeah.
And if for those of you that don't remember, this was an old railroad right-of-way. This was the Frisco, or the forerunner of the Frisco, and this was the first railroad that came into Pittsburgh. And it came in to move coal. And as a matter of fact, when you drive right past the restrooms there, that drawing right there is what the first depot looked like. And there was a hotel right back behind it called, it's spelled Europe Hotel, but the old timers told me they called it the Europa.
That's how,
Hotel. Yeah. And then that depot was right where the Pritchett Pavilion is today.
But how did that get developed? I mean, that's not a traditional city park.
No, as I mentioned, it was just an old, rundown, abandoned railroad right-of-way that was right through the heart of town, and nobody was paying attention to it. It was overgrown. There was broken bottles, beer cans and everything else that, nobody was intentionally doing it, but it's just like an abandoned piece of property. It doesn't get taken care of. Well, when we wound up buying the right of way from the Frisco or from the BNSF, we just said, what if we put together a linear park? And so we contacted a guy named Dave Fish, who was an architect here.
Remember David? Yeah.
And he had a great couple ideas that manifested it, that wound up being what we used. And I got to give all the credit in the world to my mother on this, because she took this ball and ran with it. And I don't know the final tally of what it cost, but it was in the 7-figure range. And she got it done, and I think it's just an amazing piece of property that we drive by every day, and I know I appreciate it.
Any closing thoughts on Pittsburgh or Watco? Or
I can only say what I've said before. We would not be the success that we are without our team. The team here in Pittsburgh is a central part of that. This is our headquarters. This is our foundation. This is where we intend to be. This is where we intend to stay. My mother's already told me that I can't think about moving while she's alive. And if I ever think about moving when she's dead, she'll come back and haunt me. And if anybody knows my mother, they know that she can do that. So we're here. We're here as long as Pittsburgh will have us, and we're proud to be a part of this wonderful community. And just want to thank you for your time today, and thank everybody that has done such a great job building this community, because I firmly believe this town has got tremendous potential. And to steal a line from somebody I know and like, I believe without a doubt the best is yet to come.